did you bring up
Yes,
the dog?
enough,
with
Stuart.
With Trump. Did you
this
bring
interview
up the dog
is
with Trump?
ridiculous, what you were doing right now.
I don't
so
think
you
so.
need to stop. It is.
Okay.
It is.
We'll
Let's
stop.
talk about some real topics that Americans care about.
I'm afraid we're out of time.
Oh, well, of course we are.
Imagine if you were somebody who woke up from a 20-year coma yesterday. You were in the hospital room, disoriented, obviously. The hospital staff is rushing around. Your family is ebullient, and they're trying to figure out how to tell you what it is you missed. And somebody comes upon the idea that, well, they'll start with this interview, that this will be the gateway to understanding how much America has changed. This is a real question being asked in 2024 to a person who may be Donald Trump's VP, who's currently on trial for a business fraud case, where the whole country just heard about the passion that existed between him and the porn star he paid off. It is May 9th, 2024, and there are 180 days remaining until America decides. Just a standard American school year away until the election. This is the warning. During my career, I've appeared on television thousands of times, but I've also helped people prepare for some of the most important television interviews of their careers, their lives. People under threat, people under crisis, people running for office. I've advised presidents and prime ministers, vice presidents, cabinet secretaries, governors, senators, members of Congress, CEOs, star athletes, movie stars, and some of the wealthiest people in the world. What I tend to tell them is a couple of things, but it all starts with this piece of advice. There are no bad questions, only bad answers. I'm about to show you an interview that should be taught for all time. I know that if I ever have to sit down and counsel anybody about appearing before the media ever again, what it's like to sit and answer questions in front of a journalist on TV, I will show this interview. Because there will never, ever, ever be another interview where a political figure does as badly as Kristi Noem does in this farcical, comical outing with the Fox Business reporter who just can't get over a couple of things. Now, everybody looks at the Kristi Noem story through a different lens. What fascinates Stuart Varney, obviously, is her political judgment. What Stuart Varney wants to get at is, why would you put the story in the book? Some reporters want to ask about Kim Jong-un. Personally, I'm fascinated by this. And this formulation that when she's asked about it, she refuses to talk about the conversations she's had with world leaders, pretending that they're classified, I suppose. Or she evades the question and responsibility through a dissociative act. She says, when it came to our attention, we took it out. Who is the we? Didn't she write the book? Doesn't she know what was in it? What about when Kristi Noem read the book out loud into a microphone, recording it so we could all listen to it on our phones? This important book of hers. But at any rate, Stuart Varney wasn't interested about North Korea. And I appreciate that, because the question that Stuart Varney was after is an important question. And he wanted to know, I want to know, we all want to know, why did she put it in the book? So we're going to go through today one of the worst interviews that you will ever see by a person pinned down, a sociopath under fire, unblinking, sad, rattled, knowing that it's all coming apart. The fantastical end of this interview is worth waiting for, and I promise we'll get there. Let us journey down the river into Kristi Noem's heart of darkness.
In your new book, it's called No Going Back. You include a story about shooting your dog, despite your team telling you not to put that in the book. I have to say the decision didn't go down well. To include the story about the dog, it's not gone down well. Many people are questioning your political future.
Imagine if you were somebody who woke up from a 20-year coma yesterday. You were in the hospital room, disoriented, obviously, and the hospital staff is rushing around. Your family is ebullient, and they're trying to figure out how to tell you what it is you missed. And somebody comes upon the idea that, well, they'll start with this interview, that this will be the gateway to understanding how much America has changed. Here's the question. Think about it. This is a real question being asked in 2024 to a person who may be Donald Trump's VP, who's currently on trial for a business fraud case where the whole country just heard about the passion that existed between him and the porn star he paid off. But I digress too much, I fear. Here's the thing. Everything that Stuart Varney just said is completely true. She killed the dog, and the reason we know this is because she won't stop talking about it. And she insists that we know about it because she put it in the book.
Well, I don't think you have the facts straight. This was a vicious, dangerous dog that was a working dog. And I had to make a choice between the safety of my children and an animal that was killing livestock and attacking people.
I'm just going to say it. She's just lying, just making stuff up. And it's all nonsensical. Kristi Noem here contradicts herself over and over again. She had to kill the dog because it was a vicious man-eater. Did it attack people or did it kill poultry? What was the danger to the children? The nonsense just spews out.
Was it a puppy?
They tried to hide
puppy?
from tough decisions. It was a very hard decision for me. It was 20 years ago.
Was it a puppy?
No, it was an adult working dog. It was an adult working dog that was attacking livestock.
14 months old.
And killing livestock.
The dog was 14 months old.
It was a year and a half old, the dog was, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
This is an incredible moment and the best math moment of the entire conversation. Stuart Varney hones in. Was it a puppy? Kristi Noem responds, no. It was a vicious working dog. Now, he asks how old the puppy was. 14 months. Kristi Noem says no, a year and a half. But a year and a half is 18 months, not 14 months. She can't even tell the truth about what a year and a half is. Let's keep watching. The incredibleness never ends.
Do you think it was good politics to include that story?
That has been a story that's been out there for years, Stuart.
But it's been
My
picked up
political
recently.
opponents have used it for years, so I want people to know the truth on it.
Do you still
and
think you
what
could
this
be
book is about?
Could you be the vice
this
president
book-
of Donald Trump?
I tell you what, the only person who decides that is Donald Trump. Donald Trump is the only person who will decide who his vice president is.
And have you
and I
talked to him?
trust him
Have you
to pick
talked
the
to him
person
since the dog story emerged recently?
Yes, I talk to Donald Trump often, absolutely. And I will tell you one thing, is that he needs somebody who will help him win. And I have told him that I have supported him from the very beginning. When he was in the White House, I was on offense every day in South Dakota. I was fighting for my people. He was helping me bring solutions to them. And I need to get him back in the White House so I can continue to do my job.
Wow. The narcissism between the two must be explosive when they're together in the same room. Let me just say that whenever you hear an American politician say, my people, what is she talking about? My people. I and my people. Very interesting formulation.
If you were writing the book today, would you include the dog story?
You know, this is a wonderful book. Did you read the book?
Not yet.
Oh, you should. The first chapter.
But the question stands.
The whole first
if you were
chapter.
writing it today,
Yes, I'm
would
proud
you
of this
include
book.
the dog story?
I'm proud of this book. If you read the
So
first
you would?
chapter, it's all about when this rioting started. When you turn on the news today and all you see that's happening on these college campuses and what's going on with supporting Hamas and the pro-terrorist organizations, the first chapter in this book covers the riots that happened at the RNC at the White House and how that started with Antifa and the fact that this president that's in the White House, Joe Biden, will not shut this down, and that they're chanting hatred towards the Jewish people and exterminating them. That's what people should be talking about, Stuart.
I just have to say, I think he's asking about the chapter where she talks about killing the dog, But whatever chapter that may be, the question was, if you could, knowing today what you couldn't know then, would you have put this story in the book? And her answer is completely insane, utterly unhinged, absolutely delusional. And truly, this is the hangover of the Trump era, is you have an entire generation of American politicians who think that they're Trump, who think that they can do the same things that he can do. But when you say it without the male Queen's accent, you just sound like a moron.
I know that a lot of people are using attacks and trying to take me down because they're scared of me.
No one is scared of Kristi Noem, unless you're a domestic pet.
I'm not
I win everything that I do.
Support you on shooting the dog.
I'm honest. Well, I've heard a lot of people.
Nobody.
I've heard a lot of people that say, listen, this was 20 years ago. 50
We're consumed
states
with emails.
50
we put this on the show.
Have a law in the
know you're going to be
books.
on, and we've been consumed with emails saying, I won't vote for this person. I won't vote for Trump if he puts her in the vice presidential spot.
Well, I'll tell you, Stuart, I'm sorry you're not hearing from real Americans that live on farms and ranches. Because if every state has a law in the books that allows for animals that are killing livestock and attacking people to be handled this way.
Okay.
And so I made a decision as a mom, and I'm a grandma, that the safety of my children and the safety of people was what I needed to decide on, basis protecting them from a very dangerous animal.
The unraveling here is just incredible. Now Kristi Noem is saying that the dog she killed 20 years ago and told us about in the book was because she's a grandmother. Was she a grandmother 20 years ago when she shot the puppy? All of this nonsense, all of this unspooling, it's incredible to watch. The DNA of this political liar, absolutely unraveled. This is an epic, masterful interview that is still building towards its climactic, dramatic conclusion, which is just ahead.
I'll move on to something much more positive. We've seen you in commercials for South Dakota.
Yes.
They're a success, I believe. You brought in, how many, 78% more plumbers?
Yes.
60% more electricians?
Yes.
That's from your commercials?
Those commercials that we've been running was to bring workers to our state. Our state is growing and thriving. Our wages are going up. New businesses have moved in. They've loved the freedom and the liberty we have in South Dakota. And yes, you probably saw the electrician commercial where I'm a lousy electrician and shut off the lights on the Capitol. And because of that, in the last 6 months, we've had a 78% increase in licensed electricians that have moved into our state that have gone through our licensing board.
I don't even know what this stuff is about, except to say it doesn't seem to make any sense to me that Kristi Noem appears in an ad, and the next thing you know, voila, 78% more plumbers in the state, 22% more electricians. Kristi Noem's in the ad, and the plumbers come running. Maybe, but that's not what this is about. Stuart Varney is circling overhead, waiting for the opportunity to dive back into the puppy story. And when he does, his final assault will finish off Kristi Noem for all time. Now, Stuart Varney has tricked her here. He has backed off. He has talked about what she wants to talk about, the magical ads that bring the plumbers to South Dakota. You see Kristi Noem in an ad, you come to South Dakota. That's the message here. Now, Stuart Varney isn't done yet. He's circling above like a golden eagle, about to dive back into the puppy story. Let's watch.
Do you still think that you are in line to be Trump's vice president?
No, it's up to Donald Trump. He's the only person who will decide this. He's the only person who will decide. And yes, I do speak to him.
May I ask what he said to you about being vice president?
I never tell anybody my personal conversations with President Trump.
Did the dog story come up in your conversation with Trump?
I talk to President Trump all the time.
About the dog?
About a lot of things. And right now, I tell you what, he is being persecuted in a political hunt witch hunt in this court case. So
Did he
I'm
bring
proud
up
of
the
him
dog?
about how tough he is and how well he is doing.
Did you bring up
yes,
the dog?
enough,
with Trump?
Stuart.
With Trump. Did you
this
bring up the
interview
dog
is
with Trump?
ridiculous what you were doing right now.
I don't
so
think
you
so.
need to stop. It is.
Okay.
It is.
We'll
Let's
stop.
talk about some real topics that Americans care about.
I'm afraid we're out of time.
Oh, well, of course we are.
Extraordinary. I'm Steve Schmidt. This is The Warning, and I invite you to subscribe on our YouTube channel. Follow us. Welcome to the community.